Hi everyone, it's Krishla and I am here to channel a new message for me to share through my YouTube channel. And this came about from me sitting in the sun yesterday, out in the garden, doing a little bit of self-healing and feeling inspired to talk about a topic that I personally know nothing about. However, it was kind of explained to me that this is a topic that I really need to know about. It's something that I'm personally dealing with in a multitude of different ways. And so I thought I would do this recording today. And something a little different is going to be a part of this session because I'm going to also be talking about one of the symbols that I channeled back in 2011, which is a part of the Sacred Symbols of the Stars card deck that I created a very long time ago. And I'll be talking about the very first symbol, which is known as abundance. So the topic of this conversation today is toxic empathy. And as I said, it's something that I was guided to tune into, something that I'm fascinated by the name, because it's not something that I've ever heard of before. And so I hope you enjoy this recording. And let's tune in and see what wants to be talked about. So toxic empathy is a name given to a situation where a person becomes fearful of their own past inside of themselves while experiencing something new on the outside of their physical body. Meaning that an old trauma begins talking to them internally, speaking about what that individual has gone through in their past on a level of shock, trauma, tragedy, horror, fear, desperation, devastation, etc., while a new encounter is going on around them that technically has nothing to do with them. So another individual could be relaying a story, another individual could be going through their own traumatic experience in that moment, or this individual could be witnessing something happening to another person that pains them so badly that they take on that other individual's energetic matter and expressions of self that that person is emitting into the environment of their body. And it comes to being mixed with this internal signature of their own tragic encounters in a way where it becomes bonded together, and this individual then ties themselves energetically to this other individual who's going through something painful. It is an experience where one empathizes with the other in a way where they wish that they could take their pain away from them. However, inside of their physical form is an energy that's speaking to them that says, I need you to know that I'm still here, I'm still talking to you, I'm subconscious, I'm a tragedy that you've experienced in the past, and I need you to know that I'm living on energetically inside of you in the form of consciousness of a suppressed kind. And you have not taken the time to deal with me. You have not known me because you were unconscious to some degree when this event was taking place. Or I am unknowing to you because you blacked out, fainted, or came to be mindless in a moment of tragedy, for example. And this mass of traumatic experience energy that has all of the responses of the body, the biological expressions, how the DNA was affected, the trauma of the soul spirit self, all of the energetic body mass, all of the physicality, all of the scarring that occurred on a level of psyche, etc., lives on inside of that person in a form of unprocessed trauma energy. And this has then come to speak to them in the moment of something else occurring outside of them that has nothing to do with them, in the sense that they are not being harmed, they are not going through the tragedy themselves. However, they are either witnessing it, or someone is telling them about their shocking experience, or something of the sort. So an external happening is taking place, while an internal voice is speaking to them, and a type of bonding occurs through the heart, usually, where that person empathizes with the other individual. However, what comes out of their heart in the form of, I love you, I care for you, I wish that this terrible time was over with, I wish this never happened to you, I'm so sorry for what you've been through. What comes out of their heart in the form of this empathizing energy is actually toxic in its nature, because it speaks of the experiences of past of this individual, then going towards the one who is actually going through something in their now, or is speaking about such things. And so a kind of toxic reaching out to this other individual occurs, which then, without meaning to, then shocks this other individual in their own heart space, because instead of an empathizing energy that is pure and loving and caring and sympathetic to what that other person is going through, it actually speaks of a trauma or tragedy of a similar kind to what that person is either talking about or expressing or sharing with that individual, or is going through in front of them, which then causes them to become bonded heart to heart with a very toxic thought mass that is unknowingly being shared by individual number one, who went through something in their past, towards individual number two, who is currently going through something, or sharing their experience of what they've just been through, which is a more present day experience as opposed to the past that is being expressed by individual number one. And so it kind of locks into place this cording between both individuals that's extremely difficult to let go of, because individual one has no idea that they're projecting their own past towards this other individual that they believe that they are empathizing with, caring about, loving, wishing well upon, wanting to solve their problems and make them feel better. But instead, quite the opposite actually occurs, and the second individual unknowingly becomes traumatized all over again. And from their point of view, it's almost as if an attack has happened in their vulnerable moment, when in actual fact this was never the intentions of individual number one. It's just a malfunction has occurred inside of them, where their own past was bleeding into their heart zone because of what they were subconsciously aware of in that moment of them possibly hearing about a tragedy or something that someone has gone through that troubled them greatly, or filled them with grief, etc. And this energy has then come to go towards individual number two, and the shock that they then become impacted by then hooks this cord into their own heart space in an unhealthy way that they then find very hard to resist or say no to or disconnect from, because it then traumatizes them in a similar way, where they then become aware of the other individual's own griefful encounter, making them then have these kind of toxic cords of empathy towards this other individual as well. So it's really like a cycle of a back and forth of sharing negative experience energy, sending back and forth like a toxic residue of trauma. And they speak of two different encounters and two different time periods, two different individuals, possibly two completely unrelated experiences. However, there is something about what they both individually went through that mirrors the other individuals. You know, it's normally along the lines of shock or some kind of pain coming to the mind or the heart or the physical body. And it can also involve things like tragedy, horrors playing out, where that individual goes through something that they can't quite believe is true or real or a now-full experience, and they can kind of go into almost like a daydream state of like automatic pilot, just in order for them to kind of cope with what's going on. And this is why these two people can then empathize with each other so much, simply because of how they felt and acted in the moment of these negative experiences occurring. So in order for a toxic empathy cord to remain stable and locked into position and sending out signals of an unhealthy kind, both individuals would have to hold on to a certain level of remorse or bereavement or some kind of shock that then destabilizes them whenever they come to be in communication with that other individual. It needs to be known that these two people will then struggle to spend time with each other once this kind of courting has taken place. They will trigger each other immensely when they come to be in the presence of the other. They will subconsciously and subtly be aware of the other individual in a way where they are fearful of them, they are timid, they are triggered, they are in shock, they're feeling unstable, they feel nervous and unhinged. Their body could rattle in a way where they are feeling those traumatizing energies inside of them and kind of associating it with what's right in front of them, which is this other person, and them subtly believing, it's not a good idea that I spend time with this person. I'm unsure why. I don't feel safe around them. And my life's better if I don't actually spend time with this individual. All of which can cause a lot of confusion for both parties, because they're unknowing as to why it is that this other individual is triggering them so badly, when in actual fact, the reality of what they're looking at on a level of subconscious awareness is something that happened to them personally that was horrific in its nature or disempowering to a significant degree, extremely traumatic, etc., as well as them also being aware of this other individual's trauma energy that is similar, which makes it extremely hard to kind of comprehend internally which one is which, what stuff is mine, what belongs to that other person, which then causes a whole batch of other problems to arise with letting go of either lot of energy that has come up, because the mind will be confused. Is this mine? Is this not? Is this now? Is this later in life? Is this real? Is this imagined? Is this something of a dream? Is this even an event that actually happened to me? Because there's two different stories being told in the mind due to both traumas eclipsing each other and speaking of the same thing while being completely different at the same time. So when the mind has to deal with these conflicting energies, it can cause it to shut down and not want to pay attention to that mass of toxic energy, because it not only speaks about a past of that individual that was extremely difficult to go through, but also another person's who that individual obviously cared a great deal about. So that can have a debilitating effect on the mind, where it loses its chi often and it becomes shocked and shut down simply because there's so many awarenesses that are surrounding it that talk of tragedy and loss and grief and powerlessness. So I want to talk about how a cord like this can affect a person in their day-to-day life, because it's something that I've gone through personally several times now, and it came to shut me down in so many ways that I was unaware of consciously that was going on. I just simply became a reclusive individual. I shut down on a way where I couldn't communicate with my family. I couldn't spend time with my friends. I had very little social interaction at all, and I came to be someone who spends a great deal of time hiding themselves away, not being in public, not communicating, not sharing myself with anyone else, simply because an old wound resurfaced about 10 years ago now, just a little bit longer than that. And I came to be in a situation where someone else was telling me of an immense grief that they had just been through. And while this encounter was going on, and I was empathizing towards my friend, because they had just been through a great loss, a multitude of old wounds came up inside of me, not just one or two. An entire time period came up of about 2 years, as well as my own personal loss story that I went through that was extremely traumatizing for me to go through. I became suicidal at that time of my life because I couldn't handle what was going on. I was in an extremely abusive relationship that was very toxic. And while this other individual told me their story of loss and grief and pain that had literally just happened, I then came to resurface a whole mass of old trauma energy that was inside of me. And in that moment, we became bonded together through our hearts with a very nasty, toxic cord. Now, I must say that I did not know any of this information prior to this morning, when I was thinking about, I'll do that channeling that I was inspired to do yesterday about toxic empathy. I only had the name, I only had the idea and a general gist as to what that actually meant. However, it was only since this morning when I was doing some meditation and tuning in to why I was feeling so heavy and anxious and full of grief, and I had this really super creepy, weird dream. And it was just affecting me a lot. So I sat with it and I was like, what is this story that's playing out in my mind? And I got the subject matter, but it's only since doing this channeling that I'm realizing that it all ties in together. This is because I'm trying my hardest to step back into my career. I'm wanting to do readings and healings for people. I'm wanting to, kind of show the world all of the hard work that I've put in over the last 8 to 10 years, where I've worked on myself daily to get past grief and tragedy and trauma from my past, which there is a lot of. And so this energy wants to talk to me, which is why I was inspired in a quiet moment in the sun yesterday with this topic of toxic empathy. And then it's brought me back to a time period of January 2014 when I had just returned to living in my hometown, having moved from the other side of Australia. And there was kind of like blow after blow after blow as soon as I arrived back in my hometown. And that is the context of where I'm sitting in this energy. So this toxic empathy energy that was expressed out of me towards another individual that I love and care about immensely and always have since the day that this person came into my life, I was completely unaware in that moment of how badly I was being affected by the story that I was being told of loss. And a grief came up inside of me that spoke of so many moments of horrific ordeals and encounters that I had personally been through, as well as kind of like a starting point of a grief that matched this other individual, while mine was completely different. And it kind of tying together different timelines of energy, right from my very first abusive relationship into another one that I went into afterwards that was considerably more damaging. And in this moment of feeling sorry for my friend and feeling dreadful for what she had just experienced, I came to be completely crippled by the energies inside of me as I took on her negative experience, and it became merged with mine. And in turn, she would have also become extremely debilitated by the energies that I was kicking out of my body when I was sending love and care and affection and sympathy in her direction. Now, I had no idea that any of this was going on. I only know that since this time of 2014, I've been spiraling downwards. I've separated myself from all of my friends, my family. I find it painfully difficult to be social, to show myself to other people, to spend time, to be laughing and joking and mucking around and lighthearted and joyful and playful and goofy and silly and all of the things that I used to be all of the time, because there's this well of sadness that exists inside of me that I didn't have a name for. I didn't understand what it looked like or where it was coming from. I only knew that it was all-consuming. I ended up moving away from everyone and everything that I knew to try and escape this feeling that I had. And while it minimized certain elements of this courting, I came to then experience worse things on a level of subconscious knowing, because of this massive anchor and this rock inside of me that was black and full of traumatic experiences from an 8-year period of my life, where I went from one abusive individual to another. And I suffered in many ways that were griefful, and I came to be someone who was so shut down within the course of about a 2-year period of time that I couldn't work anymore. I shut down my business. I stopped teaching. I stopped offering my services to others. And eventually I moved back to my hometown, hoping that, it would change things in a positive way. And while to a certain degree some things changed, and I made a conscious effort to try and rebond with my family, and I did try to reach out to a handful of people. I was still struggling with something internally where I couldn't face anyone. I couldn't show myself to people, and I've been this way ever since. And we're talking, this is over 8 years now that I've been back in my hometown, and I can count on one hand how many people I've actually seen from my old life, and I haven't been able to get my business going or be the confident individual who does readings and healings and knows things to help other people to heal themselves, because I just couldn't bring myself to a point of feeling good inside because of this mass of toxic old energy. So while I'm describing one scenario that involves toxic empathy, I have 5 or 6 other massive courtings to my family members due to griefs that we experienced together individually that mean different things to each one of us, and due to all of the suffering that I was already going through before a family tragedy occurred, I never forgave myself for the predicament that I was in. I was already very low and not coping with all that I was aware of. I was already isolating myself. I was agoraphobic, and I had terrible social anxiety, and I only really left my home to go and do, say, food shopping and teach the occasional workshop, because this was bringing in finances that I needed. So because my husband wasn't working at the time and I needed him to kind of be taking care of me. This snowballed into a compounded grief that existed inside of me that was like me carrying the weight of the world inside my physical body. I was like a rock. I was like a stone. I was hollow. No light and love existed inside of me. So it would have been easy for other individuals to perceive me as cold or distant, aloof, hard to get to know, not really letting people in, severing bonds very easily or running away from people, shutting people out. It's purely because of the level of trauma that I was going through internally and me not being able to cope with that signature of grief that was ringing out from inside of me. Now I want to bring this to a more positive viewpoint, and this is where my symbol called abundance is going to help me out. And I've been curious to find out what it is that we need to know about the abundance symbol, so that, you know, I can help people who've been in a similar situation to what I've been in for a very long time now, where they're finding it hard to let go of an old version of themselves, old griefs, loss, tragedy, energy, horrific times of life where they lost their identity and their will and who they are inside, because this is something that I know all too well, due to me having been in threatening and violent situations in my past, being forced to make decisions that scarred me, being forced into scenarios that crippled my mind and bewildered me and bent and warped my mind and my sense of reality, and that came to scar me in ways where, when I was no longer in those situations, I could not fathom the concept of who Kushla was anymore on the level of my soul spirit self, my energetic form, my physical body, my mind, my allness, my own innate spiritual being. And I came to be someone very different who shuns away from connections with others and physical interactions with other people. I came to be someone who is timid and afraid a lot of the time, and who psychs themselves out anytime they want to try and do something different or new or empowering or that connects them with other people. And I came to be someone who runs away from entire friendship groups, because this was something I started doing in my teenage years due to the aggressive individuals that I dated at the time being connected and kind of integrated into the world that I lived in. So I would drop a best friend, I would drop an entire friendship group, I would stay away from everyone that I once hung out with because I couldn't bear to be around that individual, and the memories that I had, etc. And also due to dating narcissistic individuals, I knew all too well how the minds of others could be manipulated by the words of the person that I was dating, so that I seemed like a crazy person, or I was this or I was that, as is often the case for people who've been in those types of relationships. So I took it upon myself to exit entire friendship groups to save myself from having to explain what I'd been through, and then having to kind of beg people to be friends with me or to trust me or to believe what I was saying over that individual that I had been partnered with, who was coercively controlling the narratives of what people believed in their minds. it was something that I saw firsthand. I saw the lies, the manipulation, and how easily another person's will could be bent in a certain way so that that person's storyline of events was believed over and above the truth or what I could possibly say. So I learnt that disconnecting, disengaging, running away, hiding, picking up somewhere completely different in a whole new group of friends was the best option for me. And I did it over and over and over again, despite me loving immensely the people who I was friends with, the people I had amazing, fun times with, the people who I let in and told my stories to. And it's unfortunately been something that I have continued to do until I literally had nobody left in my life other than my immediate family. So I'm talking about these stories not to get my point across, but just to add context once again to this toxic empathy theme and how it has debilitated me personally, because I know through running my business before that when I shared my stories, people could relate to them, and this helped them to come to terms with their own traumas or the things that they were shutting out, the things that they chose to ignore about themselves or their past or how they behaved, or just so that they could accept why they chose the choices that they did and how they could have possibly been affected by similar types of experiences. For example, when I taught my Reiki workshops, I talked about how my first abusive relationship led me to learning Reiki, and I turned it into a positive. I was told that I was infertile, my hormones were 60-40 in the wrong direction, and that I would never have a child. I had cysts on my ovaries, I needed keyhole surgery, and I chose in that moment to find a solution, and that is when Reiki came into my life, and I did it on myself daily, on my womb, which then helped me to get out of the abusive relationship that I was in, and I never had that operation, and years later I ended up being able to have children despite this doom and gloom scenario that had been presented to me. I refused to believe that I would not become a mother because I wanted it so badly. And telling these stories to my students in confidence, in close quarters, in my home, allowed those people to then kind of come to terms with their own stories, as well as them also recognizing the kind of person that they were learning from. And also the most important thing was that I was telling a story of empowerment, of look, this particular modality will help you to heal yourself. You can take your healing into your own hands and make the changes that you need internally to heal from the wounds of your past or your present and get yourself to a better place. And this was the message that I was trying to relay. While I then went into another abusive relationship and another one after that, and while I still kept dating narcissists and compulsive liars and people who swayed other people's opinions against me, I eventually found myself in a healthy relationship that was loving and normal. And this is because I continued to heal myself. I continued to grow. I continued to learn. I kept learning different modalities. I kept working on myself, and I was lucky enough to find my way to freedom to a certain extent, because I continued to believe that the power lied in me when it came to my own healing and my growth. So a long time ago now, I ended up channeling a series of symbols that were called the sacred symbols of the stars. The very first symbol that I channeled was called the abundance symbol. And each time that I tuned into these symbols, I went through an amazing journey of evolution and learning the meaning behind the symbol. I tapped into the consciousness of that particular geometry, and it came to change me. And I took diary notes of the journey that I went on and the things that changed and manifested in my life as a result of me tapping into that particular energy form. And it was one of the most amazing, miraculous experiences that I've ever been through in my life. And then I came to teach these symbols and their meanings to people all over Australia. And they completely changed my life in a radical and amazing way, where I became more social, more interactive, and more able to stand in front of a group of people and express myself in the way that I wanted to. This is because these symbols taught me how to think the correct thoughts. They helped me to put things in the right place on a level of cognition and awareness, and on a level of my body elements of an energetic kind being in the right place, because it's possible when you go through certain traumas that everything becomes discombobulated inside of you, especially if you've gone through shocks that have boggled your mind, if you've gone through disassociation, if you've gone through mindlessness, and you've come to leave your body or your allness due to threat or violence, belittling, antagonizing, threats of a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual kind, etc. And if you've come to live outside of yourself, like I did, because you're so afraid of the person that you're living with and spending time with and that you love, that you know that it's best that if you only kind of have one toe in your existence and the rest of you is somewhere else, so that when things of a shocking nature occur, you don't remember them when you wake up, so to speak. So the abundance symbol is something that can help people like what I've described, people that have been through shock, trauma, tragedy, loss, grief, powerlessness, identity issues, selfless behavior, in the sense that you can no longer identify yourself as being you because you exist outside of yourself, looking back in a way where you kind of remote view yourself because you're subtly aware of the traumas that exist inside of you, and it's easier for you to exist outside than inside, where you would feel it all and have to cope with all of that negative and toxic residue. So abundance is a symbol that speaks of many things that can empower a person, which is why I'm going to put it up on the screen so that you can look at it as I talk about these things, because you can visualize exactly what I'm talking about as I'm saying it and I describe the symbol, which will then in turn change your thoughts, which will then help you to let go of any untruthfulness inside of you that says, no, the ground is what is above my head, or my feet are my head, or, because people can come to be upside down inside of themselves on a level of their energetic body, which can cause a whole host of issues for them when it comes to evolving themselves forwards into another expression of themselves, manifesting the life that they desire, manifesting abundance into their body, etc. And this is something that I know all too well. And I've been stuck in an upside down and inside out and round the wrong way kind of state of being because of toxic empathy teaching me about a past time of my life that I had no conscious recognition of. As I mentioned, it was about a 2-year period of my life where stuff was going on daily that shocked me. And I came to exist outside of myself with grief, and I did not come back into my being until I was well away from this individual However, it actually took many years afterwards for me to really come to a point of being okay again, as I was dealing with social anxiety, agoraphobia, my body malfunctioning, weird symptoms. I had hallucinatory elements coming to me. I could hear auditory stuff from my past, almost like a, what do you call it, apparition? Yes, apparition. I was having apparitions from my past times, which horrified me, and I came to move to the other side of Australia the first time that I went, and this is when the sacred symbols of the stars came through and changed everything for me in a positive way. This is because I was calling out with my gifts of intuition to the universal realm to help me to become stable and knowing of myself in a truthful way, because I had no other way to correct myself internally unless my guidance helped me to get there. So I drew a symbol called abundance, and it starts off in the center of the image where there are 4 circles that sit inside of one another, and this is an area of the heart known as heart center. So if you were to imagine a line of energy running from the top of your armpit to the other, so the left side to the right side across your chest, and then imagining a vertical line down the center of your body, so roughly where your chest bone is, this is the point where heart center exists. And this is an energetic sphere that talks of unconditional love and an abundance of self, where you know who you are wholeheartedly, and you come to let go of things of an illusionary nature, such as past times of life or past awarenesses of self, past tragedy energy, illusions of past where you could have unknowingly empathized with another individual in a toxic way, where you then took on their harmful thoughts of self and their low vibration beliefs and all of their own insecurities and pain, their shyness and their timidity, etc., in a way where you then held it in your heart space as your own, even though it was not. And this sphere of energy is what you would have reached out to this other individual with when you were empathizing with them, when they were telling you their story, or where you witnessed them go through something in front of you in a way where you felt extremely sorry for them, griefful, you felt the loss yourself in a certain way, as if it was your own, even though it was not. This, all of this information can speak to you from inside of the sphere of love that exists in your heart, and it can debilitate you in a way where you no longer become loving towards yourself, towards your body. You no longer have self-care, and you no longer abundantly speak to all components of your physical being in a way where they are full of chi and life matter and energy of vitality. They no longer speak of abundant flow and you moving through life in a way where you have let go of the past and come to be a new person who is free of the griefs that they once went through. And instead, this sphere of abundant, unconditional love actually minimizes its glowing energy of chi, and it can actually only shine its light out in a minimal way, or in a dampened way, in a suffocated way, almost a flame that has no oxygen to keep it burning brightly, because it is suffocated and suppressed and surrounded by energies of a toxic kind that speak of past moments in time. In order to remove this kind of toxic energy from the heart sphere, you would need to first know that by following the line that is vertical, that goes downwards in a straight line towards this hexagonal shape at the bottom of the image, which actually represents the perineum point at the base of the torso, you can send this energy of toxicity that suffocates the heart in a downwards direction towards the base of the body, because the perineum point actually can become enlivened and enlightened by the chi of the heart space that speaks of forgiveness and truthful knowingness of now. And this wakes up the perineum point, which then communicates down into the ground center beneath the feet and the other energetic points in the earth that are both magnetic and grounding, and they have a kind of pulling energy to them that helps the body to release waste material. So by connecting your heart with your intention right now, using this visual representation of the chi centers in the body and the lines of consciousness that connect them to each other, you can visualize your heart center, where those 4 circles are in the middle, communicating straight down to your perineum, so that it can begin to purge toxic waste material from your body. You would also need to know that where the heart center exists in the middle of the picture, there is a straight line vertically, directly upwards, that can help you to connect to a higher knowingness of self from the higher realm, meaning that universal energies can come down to assist you from your higher self, encouraging you to let go, and it's telling you about the now that you exist in, that is beyond the point of trauma and tragedy and shock affecting you. So if you imagine your heart center now following that straight line of communication up to a point of your crown, which sits at the topmost point of your skull, on the top of your head, which sits in line with the perineum point, which is at the base of the body, and they communicate through the heart center so as to help the body to evolve itself of the past and to welcome in the new. So this point of crown on the top of your head is something that now wakes up to the heart's communication with it, and it sends a signal up into the higher realm and the energy centers that exist above your physical body, so that universal flow comes into your physical form, and it connects with your heart via the crown, so that you learn of all of what you need to from the universal realm and your higher self in this moment as you're looking at the abundance symbol, so that you hear encouraging words of evolution and movement forwards and growth. And this helps you to be empowered in a way where you let go of all of the sadness, all of the shock, any kind of attack that you have felt from someone empathizing with you in a toxic manner, without, any kind of vengeance or anger coming from you, because anyone who does this is normally someone who has been through some kind of violence, abuse, narcissistic control, coercion, attack, and extreme situations where blame has often come to them, which wasn't their fault. So they could have been belittled, and an aggressor has convinced them of things of an untruthful nature where they see everything as their fault always. This is something that I have a massive issue with myself. And so I can sympathize with anyone who's been through something similar, because it's so debilitating and it's been so hard to try to get myself to the point that I'm at the moment, because of this shame and unforgiveness of self, the self-hatred that I experience, the self-blame, self-attack, and the self-punishing behaviors that initiated themselves that were just so intense and so confusing because I had no idea why I felt this way about myself. Because I thought that I had moved on from my past, and when it resurfaced, it had a whole different meaning to it that I was not aware of. So focusing once again on that heart center point, the 4 circles in the center of the picture. And what you need to know as well is, in order to stabilize the heart so that it stays in the now of the present moment, so that your self-energy form that exists around your heart center is powerful in helping your body to release toxic waste material, and it helps it to heal, it helps it to be abundant, it helps to share chi around all facets of your physical and energetic mass, so that no part of you is hidden from view from the mind recognizing, oh, there's some stuck energy there. Oh, there's a cording here that shouldn't exist. Oh, hang on a second, we've got an entity attached to us. Or hang on a second, we've got a rip and a tear in the auric field that I can clear up. The mind needs to be able to see all and know all. And if the heart is not expressing itself fully in that spherical manner of a universal kind, then the self is powerless to staying still and stuck in whatever position it happens to be in the body, and it can't go about the physical form cleaning up the mess, so to speak. So in order to stabilize the heart and it to remain connected to the lower realm and the higher realm via the perineum and the crown points, the heart also needs to be connected to the left and the right side of the physical body. So if you imagined you had your arms outstretched beside you in a horizontal fashion, then you would see that this spherical mass of the heart center in the center of your chest, you would see this line going towards the left, horizontally on the picture, towards another hexagon that's actually laying on its side. It's not up and down like the crown and the perineum point. It's actually on its side. This belongs to an energetic point in your left hand that helps you to release waste material as well, by it welcoming in energies of universal nature, which means both the higher realm energies and the lower realm, or the universe and the earth. And this sits on the feminine side of your body. So imagining your hand outstretched and saying, welcoming into the heart space all of what you need in the form of chi from your environment, which, you know, nature abounds all around you, and there's helpful energies everywhere that you go. However, they can be blocked from coming into your physical form if a shutdown in the heart occurs. And people who have this kind of blockage often have issues with their hands becoming sore or numb, or pins and needles. They can have issues with their forearms doing the same thing, their biceps, their arms, their shoulders locking up, having pain across their chest, a tightness in like their inner shoulder center area, which is kind of like on the inside at the front by the ball joint of the shoulder. You could have like dead arms when you go to sleep at night, etc. This can all be caused by blockages in the hands where you are no longer welcoming life towards you. So I also want you to be aware of going from the heart center in the right direction, so along that horizontal right line towards your right hand. So this is on the masculine side of the body. Once again, this is connected to the universe above and the earth below, or the higher realm above and the lower realm below. And this side of the body also welcomes life chi towards that individual, that then flows up the arms and into the chest to support the heart and its growth and evolution from past. It helps the heart to become powerful in a way where it can easily let go of very stubborn and disempowering energies because this masculine energy is something that can help to break down chunks of trauma energy or blocks or mounds or stuck energy that is kind of glued and fixed into position. And a way to remember this is, if you imagine, if you're right-handed, you could imagine something like an axe in your hand, like a man or a masculine energy chopping wood. Wood is a very solid structure. So if you imagine that you've got these chunks of wood inside of you, you would need this masculine energy on the right side of your body to chop the wood into smaller pieces so that it can easily flow out of the body and be released as waste material, instead of it staying stuck inside of you because it's too big, too impactful, too chunky, too rock solid for it to flow out of the body in a graceful manner. Whereas the feminine side, that left-hand side energy, the energy that comes into your left hand, is a more graceful energy. It's fluid, it's flowing. It's more like a watery type energy that is graceful, and it helps to move energy from side to side. So if you imagine the masculine chopping up and down energy, and then the graceful energy of the feminine moving things from side to side, almost like sweeping a broom, sweeping from side to side. So the combination of both of these things working together means that a big chunky energy from your past can be broken down, and then the feminine comes in to soothe it and encourage it to move out of the body. So the feminine energies of Earth have a way of masking and mutating and, muting and silencing energies that want to talk to you, so that you can move them out of your body without them talking to your mind and disempowering you. Whereas the masculine energy can be a bit more forceful and convince things that they have to shift and they have to move out of you. And then the feminine comes along and says shh, 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 and it takes it down and out of the body so that it no longer affects you again. So you now know that the heart center sits within the middle of the chest, that the perineum connects down to the ground to help you to send energy downwards. You also know that the heart is connected to the crown, which allows higher inspirational energies to come into you from above, so that there's a flow from the higher realm into the physical realm, into the lower realm, where all of your past is stored in the ground so that it no longer affects you and your physical being. You also know that the left and the right side of your body, or the left hand to the right hand side of your body, needs to be in communication with the heart to once again ease that old energy down and out, and also to help to bring that new energy from above down and into your physical form, so that a constant flushing out of the old happens and a constant evolution of the mind takes place by you being inspired by new ideas, new thoughts about self, new ways forwards, clarity, and you being encouraged to think healthy thoughts about yourself and all of the achievements that you've been through that have got you to this now point in time, instead of old energies of self talking to you and manipulating you and convincing you that you're stuck and that you can't move on. So the other points that I want to mention are the diagonal points. So those little pentagons that are sitting in the four directions there. So we've talked about the up, the down, the left and the right. So now I'm going to talk about the diagonal point of top left. So it looks like a little 5-pointed star sitting inside of a pentagon. And this point sits in the left shoulder. And this is something that is, once again, sitting on the left-hand side, which is connected to feminine energy. And it is also sitting at a point of facing up towards the universe. And this point is going to help to encourage energy to move down the body. because it has a counterpart, which is the point that's down on the bottom right-hand side that mirrors it and matches it. Just like the one on the top right-hand side on the diagonal talks to the one on the bottom left-hand side on the diagonal. So these four things are independent of the previous four hexagons that I mentioned, so the up, the down, the left and the right. So these are sitting kind of like on a cross section to one another. They all work hand in hand with each other, however they speak of different elements, and the whole thing comes together to make you abundantly chi-full and abundantly flowing, so that the past is removed from you, so that you can be more now-full in your present moment in time. So this top left-hand point talks down to the bottom right-hand point about all evolutionary content that is coming into it from the higher realm, encouraging that person to grow. And it speaks down via the heart center. So at all times, the heart center is kind of like the meeting point of all of these individual areas, so that nothing goes on without the heart center being aware of it. So this top left shoulder point communicates down to the right hip point. So this upper feminine side of the body communicates down through the heart to the lower masculine point of the right hip, where transformation occurs and a releasing of the old and a surrendering of the past occurs, while the right hand shoulder point of masculine energy that is connected to the universal realm and a learning from the higher self of what needs to be let go of. This right hand top point of the right shoulder communicates down through the heart to the left hip point, which is feminine, which once again helps that person to surrender all wasteful content from their physical being, by it being expelled as waste of either a physical kind through excretion or urination or menstrual cycle, or it could also be released energetically with the help of the lower body's connection to the lower realm beneath the physical feet. So when you know all of these points that I've just spoken about, it is easy for a rightful flow to come to you, where your mind is inspired with new ideas from your higher self, which says, you know what, you've gotten over that past time of grief. You no longer feel the same ways that you once did in that moment of disempowerment. So I encourage you wholeheartedly now to surrender all old thoughts of self that speak to you of troubling times and make you feel less than who you are meant to be. And then the mind then sends this voice of encouragement down into the heart. And the heart then has the power to fan this message of empowerment out to all aspects of the body via the points that I've already just spoken about. So everything from the crown down to the perineum, so the top to the bottom of the body, from the left to the right of the body, and then from the top left to the bottom right, and the top right to the bottom left, so that every single component of your chi system that helps you to be abundantly vital and full of an energy source of chi that helps you to grow and evolve yourself comes about. Because all of these energetic points help you to manifest chi in your body that is very powerful and loving and evolving. And this helps you to sever all connections to past times of life, people that you have had experiences with, a not knowingness of self, a not knowingness of now, all illusionary content that speaks of you remembering, recalling, visualizing, dreaming about, or imagining yourself at a past point in time, and you becoming stuck there mentally or emotionally or on any level of your being. The abundance symbol encourages the self of the physical form, which is an energetic mass that speaks of all of your qualities of self, your likes, your dislikes, your traits, your personality, your identity, or who you identify yourself to be, all of the growth and evolution that you've ever gone through. And it encourages every single part of you to become magnetically attracted to the future that you are welcoming towards you, of an abundant nature. It sends out a signal of a attractive kind to the world around you, so that nature chi responds by coming towards you to cleanse your auric field, to cleanse your skin, to cleanse your energetic body layers on the inside of your body, inside your physical form, and this overall taking away of the old so that something new can take its place occurs. Because this is what we do when we go into nature. If you go for a walk, you spend time in a forest, etc., you feel good afterwards, because there's a type of exchange that occurs with nature where it helps us to dissolve and break down and disseminate. No, I don't think that's the right word. Break down old energies that's sitting on or around us or within us. And it says here, let me take this from you, and in return I'm going to give you this life energy that I'm putting out 24/7 in an abundant way, and this magical experience of transformation occurs. And this is exactly what happens when you are connected to abundance chi inside of your physical form, simply by those energetic points being woken up and speaking to each other via the heart center, which is an abundantly transformative energy point in the body that emits unconditional love. And this has the power to tell you to keep going, keep growing, keep evolving yourself, keep moving forwards, and keep believing in the person that you are, which then sends out this attractive magnetic force into the world around you that helps to bring positive life experiences your way. Whereas when you're shut down and your chi system of an abundant kind is no longer operational because of some kind of grief sitting in your heart, which makes all of what I've just described to you locked up, shut down, and not flowing anymore, can actually cause you to bring lesson learning energies towards you instead, which can be very troubling. It can be very boggy and hard to work through. You can have the same kinds of experiences over and over again, or feel like nothing that you're doing is actually helping you to get anywhere, because your body's sending out a signal of, I need to learn to love myself. Help me to do this through teaching me hard lessons. So that I can grow. And this is the state that I've been stuck in for over 10 years now, and it has been hell on earth, and I would not wish this upon anyone. So I've done everything that I can to get to a point of self-forgiveness and self-growth and self-love, and me feeding myself all of what I normally give to other people in the form of evolutionary thoughts and intuitive knowing and time and attention and care. And this has finally brought me to a point where I can now share messages of a healing kind with other people, and I can help myself to grow by doing sessions such as this one, where I'm learning, just as you are, about things such as toxic empathy, which was something that I have been struggling with on a daily basis, which was making me stay away from all of the people that I love and care about because of the horrible things that I was aware of inside, making me unstable in my mind, in my emotions, making me feel intensely aware of not feeling safe anywhere that I went, and it debilitating my ability to express myself properly. So I want you to know that any time that you're feeling unsure of yourself, you're not feeling like you're in your body, your mind, if you're feeling unsure or like you've been through something where you no longer feel stable, you're feeling anxious. I mean, I wake up in this state just about every morning. I wake up with grief in my heart. I wake up feeling disassociated. I wake up wondering what the hell I dreamt about, because I feel extremely traumatized, because my past still speaks to me so often in a vivid way in my dreams. And I want you to know that if this is ever the case for you, or even if you just want to have an experience where you're tuning into the energies of abundance, you can listen to this recording and look at this symbol. Even if you fast forward what I've said until you get to the point where I'm talking about this symbol, it's going to help you, because these symbols are designed in such a way where you have a physical representation of a structure of chi that exists inside of your physical form. And simply by viewing this symbol and you knowing that this is the heart center in the center of the image, and it talks down to the perineum point at the base of the body in order for me to ground myself into earth energies. And the heart center communicates up to the crown point on the top of my head, so that I know things of a universal nature. And that, you know, your heart center needs to be balanced by both the left and the right hand points in order for it to remain stable in its present state, so that it's talking about the here and now and not any other time in your life, so that you can remain stable and centered, and your energetic self is empowered to do its work within the body to help you to release your past and to heal you and to help you to let go of sabotaging energies. And then also you learning of how the top side of the body needs to talk to the bottom side, and the left needs to talk to the right, and the top right needs to talk to the bottom left, the top left talks to the bottom right, so that a rightful flow occurs, with old matter being taken from side to side and from the top to the base of the body, so that all waste material can exit your physical form. That is the gift of abundance, and having this symbol represented in this geometric form. And I'm just so pleased to have finally reached a point where I can share this with you. I've learnt a lot over the last 8 to 10 years about important things that I would like to share with people about chi, healing, letting go of trauma. And I was just very blessed that a long time ago, when I was capable of doing so, I brought through symbology that could help me in my now, to help me to get to a point where the things that I'm currently dealing with no longer affect me. And I can't wait for a time when I share this abundantly with other individuals, and I teach them what I know about the symbols and what they really mean, because once upon a time I wasn't capable of accessing all of that information. However, a daily self-study session, daily meditation, daily healing, daily going into my past, having a look at it, seeing what it meant to me, taking it apart bit by bit, and so that I could actually process it out of my physical form, has brought me to a point of now being much more aware of the person that I really was, because in reality I wasn't really fully cognizant of all that I had been through and just how much it debilitated me in my day-to-day life. So I was blessed in a way, even though all of my life crumbled around me. I was blessed with being able to study myself daily, instead of me doing what I've always done, which is helping other people to work through their own issues. I put all of that love and attention towards myself, and it's brought me to a very empowering moment right now where I'm talking psychically about things that I'm being told by my higher self. And I'm also now adding an element of my past into it, which is the Sacred Symbols of the Stars, which is a beautiful geometry deck that I channeled a long time ago, that I feel very fortunate to be a part of my life, because for a long time I couldn't even look at them or believe in them or trust in the person that I was when I channeled them. And I'm now at a point where I can look towards the direction of that time of my life and the person that I once was, and I no longer shun that version of myself and think that it was all an illusion. It was all some fantastic trick that was played on me, and I wasn't actually that powerful, and I wasn't actually that psychic. And who was I to think that I could do such a thing? But I'm learning now that I'm capable of more than what I thought of, and while I hold no expectations of what the future will bring, I can only hope that more messages like this will come through, so I can post it on YouTube and share it with whoever is drawn to it, and they can somehow heal from the things that they have been through as well. So I'm going to wind this down, and I'm going to let go of these messages and the higher realm and my higher self, and I'm going to give thanks to all that communicated with me today. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this recording. It's something a little different that I was encouraged to do, and I can say that there's going to be more coming to do with the Sacred Symbols of the Stars, to do with abundance, how to use these images to help you to heal. And I look forward to sharing it all with you through my YouTube channel. Eventually I will be inspired to work on my website, where you'll find out a lot more information about me and what it is that I'm going to be offering people. And if you've enjoyed this recording, I would love it so much if you leave me a comment. It's really encouraging for me to see what you've written. I would also love it if you gave me a thumbs up or a love heart, or whatever you feel guided to do, because it helps my post to get a part of the algorithms on YouTube, where then, I can reach out to people that are possibly not on my channel yet. Also, subscribing does the same thing, and it encourages me to keep on sharing. And if you so feel guided to share this content with other people, whether it's in groups, on a page, through your friendship circles, or in an email, or however it is that you want to, just know that I thank you so, so much. It's been a very, very long time now that I've been in isolation. I haven't spoken to people. I've shied away from public life. And once upon a time, I was out there sharing 24/7 with anyone who would listen to me, giving abundantly. And this is my love language. I love doing that for other people. And to spend 8 whole years not being able to share my love with other people because of the state that I was in, mentally, emotionally, etc., pained me so much. I felt so retarded to not be able to be that person who lovingly shares with other people in an abundant way. So if you share or like or comment or subscribe to my channel, just know that you are encouraging me to be that person again, and it means the world to me. And eventually, when I start up a Facebook page, I'm going to be offering readings and who knows what else. So make sure that you stay tuned for when that happens, because one of the things that I love doing is giving away free readings. So, or just freebies in general. So there's hundreds of people all around the world who've received free readings, attunements, activations, free products, free essences, free card decks, people who came to my workshops for free, and those workshops weren't necessarily cheap, but I just love knowing that I've changed someone's life. I've encouraged them to grow, I've helped them to heal, I've empowered them in some way, even if it means that they then go off on their own journey and they feel inspired to be a better version of themselves as well. I love that more than anything, and I feel very excited that I'm finally at this point where I could possibly start doing that for other people again, because it's been a very, very long time of being a completely different version of myself who wasn't capable of doing that anymore. So I just want to thank you all again for your attention, for listening to all of this recording, and I really look forward to what comes next and sharing with you all again soon. Take care, everyone.